Hey Raiders fans, big news is rolling in. Las Vegas Raiders general manager John Spytek just gave us a peek into the team's possible draft plans, and things are getting interesting. Could the Raiders be eyeing a quarterback or a running back with their 6th overall pick? That's what everyone's talking about. Just a few days ago, Spytek sat down with reporters and answered some key questions. This came as the team kicked off the first phase of their off-season workouts. One of the biggest topics? The quarterback position. When asked directly, Spytek didn't hold back. He said the Raiders are keeping their options open when it comes to drafting a quarterback. In his words, the team is focused on getting it right at the most important position in sports. They've already brought in a few quarterbacks to take a closer look, and that's no coincidence. He even mentioned that while Geno Smith is with the team and they're excited about him, it doesn't mean they won't add another QB to the mix. Spytek made it clear. You can never have too many good quarterbacks. Before listening to the latest news, subscribe to the channel, like it, and don't forget to press the bell icon. Let's move on to the new news. Spytek's comments are sparking comparisons to Pete Carroll's old move in Seattle. Remember when he signed Matt Flynn for big money, then still drafted Russell Wilson, who later won the job and changed everything? Spytek could be thinking the same way. Build smart, compete hard. And here's another hint. Spytek also spoke about the running back position. He believes in taking a strong running back early in the draft if the right player is there. John Spytek made a powerful statement during his pre-draft press conference. He said, "We just saw Saquon Barkley change the Eagles in 1 year." That comment alone speaks volumes about how much he values strong running backs. Spytek continued, "There are different ways to build a team. I don't know how we got to the point where running backs aren't seen as important anymore." He also mentioned his background at the University of Michigan, where running backs were always treated as key players. For him, it's hard to ignore that mindset. But here's where things get interesting. When NFL general managers speak before the draft, they don't always reveal their real plans. Sometimes what they say is just a strategic move to confuse other teams, and that might be what Spytek is doing here. While he talks about possibly drafting a quarterback or a running back early, it could be a clever way to get other teams to move up in the draft, which might allow the Raiders to get a top player who slips through. Another key moment in the press conference was when Spytek was asked about Kolton Miller. Could the Raiders be thinking of trading him? Or are they working on a contract extension? Spytek shut the conversation down fast. He said, "We're not talking about contract negotiations with active players." That was the end of that topic. But compare that to how open he was when discussing quarterbacks and running backs. It makes you think, maybe he wanted teams to hear that. Maybe it's all part of a bigger plan to position the Raiders for the best possible outcome. As for Kolton Miller, it's hard to imagine the Raiders letting him go. He's 29, still in his prime, and moves like someone much younger. With his speed and footwork, he could easily play at a high level into his mid-30s, just like Lane Johnson has done in Philadelphia. Kolton Miller is still playing at a high level, and the Raiders know it. That's why, when John Spytek was asked about him, he carefully avoided giving too much away. It shows the team likely wants to keep their top offensive linemen. And that's a smart move. Players like Miller, who combine agility with experience, are rare. But while the Raiders are keeping things quiet about Miller, they're a lot more open when it comes to quarterbacks and running backs. And that's worth paying attention to. Now here's where strategy comes in. There are several teams in the draft who are desperate for a quarterback. That's where things could shift in the Raiders' favor. Imagine this. The Jets are sitting just one spot behind the Raiders in the draft. What if they're eyeing someone like Shedeur Sanders, a top quarterback prospect? If they think the Raiders might grab him, they could trade up to get ahead. And if that happens, it could actually help Las Vegas. Why? Because when teams move up to grab quarterbacks, it often pushes valuable players, like elite offensive linemen or defenders, further down the board. That means the Raiders could get a top-tier talent without moving a muscle. Now, let's talk about running backs. John Spytek showing up personally to the Boise State Pro Day wasn't a random visit. He was the only general manager there, and the player he was watching? Ashton Jeanty, a dynamic, explosive running back who's gaining serious attention around the league. Some believe Spytek's appearance may have had another purpose: to spark interest from other teams. The Bears, for example, are rumored to be very high on Jeanty. If they feel pressure that another team, maybe the Raiders, is targeting him, they might move up in the draft to grab him early. That creates more movement and more opportunity for the Raiders to benefit. It's all a game of chess, and John Spytek may be positioning the Raiders for a big win on draft day. John Spytek might just be playing a clever game with other teams in the draft, and it could work out perfectly for the Raiders. Let's look at Ashton Jeanty, one of the most talked-about running backs in this year's draft. He recently spoke on a sports show and made a bold prediction. He believes the earliest he'll be selected is 6th overall. That's exactly where the Raiders are set to pick. Jeanty even mentioned that the team most likely to take him at that spot is Las Vegas, unless someone trades up to beat them to it. That's a big statement, and honestly, it probably didn't come out of nowhere. When a player speaks that confidently, it usually means their agent has heard something behind the scenes. It wouldn't be the first time something like this happened. In past drafts, teams have made surprise moves based on leaked information. Not from the media, but from agents or quiet talks between front offices. The same thing might be happening here, and the Raiders could be right in the middle of it. But here's the twist. What if the Raiders don't actually want Jeanty at all? What if this is all part of a larger plan? Spytek has been very calculated. While he talks about how much he values running backs, he's never actually taken one with a top pick. In fact, in the past, he's found incredible value in later rounds. Just last year, the Raiders picked up a solid running back in the 4th round, and he turned out to be better than earlier picks from other teams. So maybe, just maybe, Spytek is using Jeanty's buzz to spark movement. If other teams think the Raiders are about to draft him, they might panic and trade up, and that helps Las Vegas because it increases the chances that someone they actually want will fall right into their lap. It's smart, it's strategic, and it shows just how seriously the Raiders are playing this year's draft game. There's a quiet strategy unfolding behind the scenes, and John Spytek might be pulling all the strings. Even though he's shown interest in quarterbacks and running backs, don't be fooled. Spytek has had success finding value later in the draft. That's why many believe he's not truly targeting either position with the Raiders' first pick. Instead, it looks like a setup, a classic case of draft day misdirection. Let's break it down. Rumors are swirling that the Tennessee Titans will open the action by taking quarterback Cam Ward. That's just the start. Now comes the chaos. The Browns and Giants are reportedly listening to trade offers for picks number 2 and 3. This is where things get interesting for the Raiders. In the NFL, agents talk a lot. They feed information to insiders who then share it publicly, not just random guesses but whispers from team meetings and trade talks. So when insiders say the Browns or Giants might move down, there's often truth behind it. Now imagine this scenario. The Titans draft Cam Ward. The Browns, instead of trading their pick, pair Myles Garrett with another pass rusher, maybe Abdul Carter, creating a terrifying defense. The Giants strike a deal with the Saints, who move up to grab Sheeter Sanders, another top quarterback prospect. What happens next? That shakeup leaves some serious talent sliding down the board. Names like Travis Hunter and Armin Mao, widely considered 2 of the top 3 prospects, could suddenly be within reach. And right behind the Patriots and Jaguars, the Las Vegas Raiders sitting in perfect position. This is the kind of scenario where patience pays off. If other teams chase quarterbacks early, the Raiders might land one of the absolute best all-around athletes in the draft, without needing to make a single move. Spytek could be playing chess while everyone else is scrambling for checkers. Now imagine this. 2 of the most electric names in the draft, Travis Hunter and Abdul Carter, still available as the Raiders get ready to pick. Sounds like a dream, right? Well, this dream isn't far from reality. With teams like the Cowboys and Bears eyeing potential trades to move ahead of Las Vegas, possibly in search of a running back, The Raiders may be playing the perfect waiting game. If those teams leapfrog the Raiders to chase their targets, it could clear the path for someone like Carter or Hunter to slip right into silver and black territory. And here's the beauty of it. Moving from pick 10 to pick 5 doesn't require teams to sell the farm. It's not a 3 first-round pick kind of move. It's a manageable jump, one that only adds fuel to the possibility of a trade frenzy just ahead of the Raiders' spot. All this chaos? It benefits Las Vegas. Now, let's talk about another name quietly rising through draft boards. Armen Mboye, the offensive tackle out of Missouri. According to multiple insiders, including whispers reported this week, he's becoming a top 10 lock, and the Raiders are right in that conversation. Why does this matter? Because while DJ Glaze has shown promise, the Raiders need more than potential. They need protection. Mbaye isn't just athletic. He's tough, polished, and ready to anchor the line for years to come. If you're building a franchise, this is the kind of lineman you build around. And here's the kicker. He might still be on the board when the Raiders pick. The stars might just be aligning. The misdirection, the trade buzz, the shifting draft order, all of it could end up putting a true game-changer into the hands of the Las Vegas Raiders. Let's talk strategy, and a bold move that might shape the Raiders' future at quarterback. With the draft just around the corner, reports are swirling that Alabama QB Jalen Milroe could be on the Raiders' radar, but not as the immediate face of the franchise. No, the idea is much more calculated. The plan? Draft Milroe as a developmental talent, give him time behind Geno Smith, and let him grow into the role over the next couple of seasons. It's a quiet, smart play. Not a splashy pick, but one that could pay off big. This isn't just about filling a roster spot. It's about building for the future, about finding a dual-threat quarterback with serious upside and letting him learn in a controlled environment. Jalen Milroe might not be ready today, but under the right guidance, he could be the franchise's future spark. This kind of move also speaks volumes about where the Raiders are heading. No panic, no shortcuts, just long-term thinking and calculated steps. So, while everyone else is watching the top picks, don't sleep on what's happening behind the scenes in Las Vegas. The silver and black might just be setting up something far more dangerous than people realize. The Las Vegas Raiders' future hangs in the balance as they continue to search for the quarterback that can carry them to consistent success. The Chiefs found theirs in Patrick Mahomes back in 2017, and it led them to 7 years of dominance and multiple Super Bowl victories. Now, the Raiders are looking for that same kind of stability, someone who can lead the team for a decade or more and give them a shot at winning it all. But let's be honest, the Raiders haven't had that kind of quarterback in a long time. In fact, their struggles at the position have been a big part of their history. They've had flashes of brilliance but never sustained success. That's where a player like Jalen Milroe could come in, a quarterback with the potential to develop into something special. Whether it's Milroe or someone else, the Raiders know they need to get it right for the long term. Right now, Geno Smith may be the perfect short-term option. At 35, he offers the chance to win now and even make a Super Bowl run in the next few years. But the Raiders can't ignore the future. Smith isn't a long-term solution, and they need a quarterback who can lead them through the next 10 to 15 years of dominance. The time is coming when the Raiders will need to make the tough decision to draft a quarterback high. While this year's class might not offer the perfect fit with the 6th overall pick, there are options in the 2nd or 3rd rounds that could pay off in the future. It's a gamble, yes. But like the Detroit Lions did with Hendon Hooker or the Pittsburgh Steelers with Kenny Pickett, taking a quarterback when the time feels right could change the trajectory of the Raiders franchise. The Raiders have to think ahead. They have to plan for a future where they aren't just competing, they're winning. And that future starts with finding that one guy who can elevate the team and bring them sustained success. The Las Vegas Raiders have made some moves to improve, but one position remains a glaring issue: the quarterback. While the Raiders took a chance on Aidan O'Connell in the 4th round, it hasn't been proven that he's the future leader this team desperately needs. The truth is, a fourth-round pick doesn't carry the same potential as a top-tier quarterback prospect. Someone like Jalen Morrow, who offers immense upside and could be the future the Raiders have been waiting for. Look at quarterbacks like Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson. Both came in with a ton of potential and developed into superstars. The Raiders need to find that type of quarterback, someone who can transform this team into a perennial contender rather than just filling a spot. Max Crosby, one of the Raiders' most vocal and dominant players, has made it clear he won't play forever. His contract is structured so that he could be gone in a couple of years, and he's not sticking around unless the team starts winning consistently. The Raiders have to get serious about building a team that can compete for championships. That starts with finding the right quarterback. Without a solid quarterback, all the talent the Raiders have, like Crosby or any future stars, won't reach their full potential. The Raiders need to figure out the quarterback position, or they risk wasting another great player's career. Sure, Geno Smith could give the Raiders a solid couple of years, but the real question is, what comes after that? The team has to start thinking long-term, and that means looking at quarterbacks in this draft who can lead the team for years to come. Whether it happens this year or the next, it's a decision the Raiders cannot afford to put off any longer. Let's see if they get it right this time.